I come to the theme of local peace processes through my research on national peace accords. Because what we found was that internationally sponsored or promoted and nationally negotiated peace accords, they rarely address local conflict dynamics and rarely are local actors engaged in the politics that shape these peace accords. And this has led to peace gaps between local expectations, experiences, and understandings of peace and the National Peace Accord. So in a sense, the National Peace Accord doesn't materialize in people's everyday.
I'm somewhat of an Afghanistan-Pakistan old hand, having worked there for many, many years or perhaps decades. In Afghanistan, there is a rich tradition of local peace processes, really in all stages of the conflict, even at times when the national peace process is sort of dead in the water. In some part of the country, people are finding ways of making peace in their area.
So as a PhD student who works on peace processes, I find it very valuable to have this kind of insight. I work on Nepal and Myanmar. Both of them have had series of peace agreements, sequenced very differently. In Nepal, it came after the Comprehensive Peace Accords. In Myanmar, throughout the 90s and between 2011 to 2015, there were very state-level agreements which could be seen as local peace agreements that led to a national-level Comprehensive Peace Accords. As someone who works on foreign policy and how foreign international engagement impacts peace processes, I'd not been able to systematically think about these issues, and I think the workshop has helped me take a step back and look at these processes back again, to look at how they're sequenced and how that impacts their outcomes.
I was in the Implementation Commission, which was formed to look and recommend the government for the proper implementation of the agreements, local agreements that were signed with the different groups. So I had opportunity to interact with all the groups, all the actors involved in signing local peace agreements.
My experience has mostly, but not only, been as a UN official, including in places like Afghanistan, Somalia, parts of Africa, Middle East.
In case of Myanmar, the local peace process is combined with the national peace process. So in our case, that all the issues are started in this national level political dialogue in the different state and region, and then from that result from this national level political dialogue come up with the recommendation to the Union Peace Conference. So finally, all the stakeholders agreed in this Union Peace Conference from this local issue.
So we started with a fundamental question: what makes local peace agreements local? Are these the actors that broker these agreements? Is it the locality or the area that they speak for? Is it the temporality or when they're sequenced as a part of a broader process? Is it the content of the agreement, or is it all of the above? And in seeking to discuss these questions, one of the reflections that came by was the fact that unlike national level processes, which rely often on a lot of external mediators and facilitators, local processes come from within the negotiated locally. They can be expedited based on local contexts. They reflect on local circumstances and thus have a lot of local ownership and engagement.
They're important because if they do not work, they risk unraveling much bigger national level agreements.
So with the fractured nature of conflicts today, where comprehensive peace accords at the national level are being seen to be very difficult to come by, like cases of Syria and Yemen point out, local peace processes and agreements fill that void, both the practical and the conceptual void, to negotiate issues at the national level and mediate them with everyday realities in the margins.
I think they're important for a number of different reasons. But more broadly speaking, I think a focus on local peace processes, it helps us address three very important questions in peace research. First of all, it helps us address the question of where does peace take place, sort of putting a spatial, place-based understanding of peace. Because peace is always emplaced It's not just an abstract idea. So where peace takes place is an important question to try to understand. The second question that it helps us unpack is the quality of peace. How do we understand the quality of peace? And if we take that even further, there is also a distinction about what is qualitatively different with local peace processes in comparison to national peace processes. And that is also something that is quite important to look at. And the third one is that local peace processes has an obvious spatial referent, and that is the global. So the question then becomes, so how do local peace processes interact with global processes or national processes? And that is also quite interesting to look into further.
It's really important because once you engage the local actors, they resolve the small things but very important things which are related to the people at the ground actually.
Well, I think it's important because it provides, first of all, it's important for the people involved because, I mean, people are getting involved in local peace process because they want to better their lives and protect, themselves, their neighbours, their children from the violence around them. So that's the first importance for it. But secondly, because it provides a forum to address the issues associated with the conflict, to find new ways of working, to build confidence, to give hope to actually revert to trying to address the national level conflict.
Going more local can also mean significant dilemmas and trade-offs where short-term reduction in violence can be bartered off for salient issues like minority rights, gender rights, like we heard from the context of Afghanistan and Pakistan.
The local is, it's very commonly used in peace research. We use it as sort of an all-inclusive term right now, rarely defined. And it's sort of a prefix that we put in front of local peace processes, local peace, local agency, and so on. So local has become this buzzword. But when we think about it and when we try to problematize it, the local could be a scale, it could be a level of analysis, it could be a specific place. And it also has a reference to local actors, local issues, sort of something that is in people's everyday. But it's also a complex and pretty problematic term when we think of it. First of all, we tend to think of it as something that gives authenticity to a process. So we give it some kind of, we glorify it in a way, or we romanticize local peace processes. And I think we need to be careful with just giving local peace processes positive connotations.
Our main goal of this peace process is to solve the political problem in the political dialogue. So that all the issues are related to in this kind of political dialogue. So we are talking on the federalism issue, what kind of federalism we will be set up in the future. So the different ethnic groups are focusing on this kind of federal issue, as well as how the security issue will be sorted out. So, for example, like the integration of the different armed organizations into the national armed forces. This kind of issue is discussing in our peace process. So, in our experience, some issues are very sensitive from the different stakeholders. For example, the military are very worried about their non-secession issue, or some are worried some ethnic group are worried that they are forced to combine under the national armed forces without their promise agreed. So this kind of worry between the different stakeholders still happening. So we are facing this kind of negotiation and give and take between the different armed organization and the military and then other political parties.
There are themes which seem to recur both in the different processes in Afghanistan and in other countries. They're really about, first of all, in terms of the issues which are addressed. sometimes the issues which are addressed in the local peace processes, they seem quite practical. On the level of, it's perhaps access to an area, it's about the release of prisoners or hostages, it's about reopening bazaars, things which are not really the overall drivers of the big national conflict. But often there's a subtext there that sometimes that by addressing those in the text of an agreement, you create an opportunity to either dialogue on the bigger issues or at least create opportunities to take another look at them. But the other common theme is the issue of scale, that apparently local peace processes are indeed local. They're about a defined area, but generally they have a much wider effect. So that, for example, one of the most famous local peace processes in Afghanistan was the Musakala Agreement in Helmand over a decade ago now, and that dealt with one district inside one of Afghanistan's 34 provinces, but in reality, the whole of the country was watching it. The people who were involved were networked nationally, and it clearly had it had ripple effects. And even today, people are looking back and trying to learn from that. So that one of the interesting things about local peace agreements is often that they're not really just local, or their effects are not confined to the local.
Yeah, I think identity and ethnicity issue. Then economic disparity, some kind of social injustice or discrimination. These are the 3-4 elements which are very common, in my opinion, to all local conflict in our region. Definitely, it has direct impact on national and international peace agreement, peace negotiation basically, because if there is a violence or any type of direct violence at the local level, that could destabilize the national process as well. So it has direct link, because even small things, but the local things matter to the resident who are living in the particular community. And as all the national conflict has some level of linkage with the regional and international arena, that is also important in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, and that I think that we have to realize that there is there's a spectrum on these, and some local peace processes, they've really well, first of all, in breaking down, it may be that where you were trying to increase confidence, actually you've reduced confidence because somebody's broken their promise that they, for example, if the security forces have given a guarantee not to intervene in a particular area, for the duration of the local peace process, and then some security agency spots a promising target and they drop a bomb there and people get killed, suddenly everybody who's been involved in signing off on that peace process, their reputation has been damaged because people have got killed. People trusted that there was going to be security in that area. So that's an example of the kind of adverse consequence which is possible from these. I think for those of us who are trying to make sense of local peace process, it really is about sort of understanding the universe of them and providing some guidelines about how to approach these, whether it be the actors directly involved or indeed external actors who are thinking about facilitating and supporting. We need some really important do's and don'ts and some red flags as well.
Yeah, if like external actors work and do decision without understanding the broader cultural aspects, that could result in unintended consequences.
Success is when local people have a strong sense of responsibility for the implementation of the agreement and have a mechanism for dealing with those, sanctioning those who break the agreement, and that is itself part of the agreement.
Well, it's a little bit like, is marriage successful? Well, some work out and some don't, and everybody's trying to work out what the reasons are, and can you predict it, and can you nurture it? I don't think there is one single criterion for the success of a local peace agreement, because quite often they are actually thought of as really only temporary. In each agreement, there's a reason, there's a problem that people have come together to solve, and at least in the short term, if that is solved, if they make progress on it, if they want to reopen a road and that road opens and commerce or relief starts to flow on it, then of course, in a very limited sense, it is successful. But to understand the sort of success in the sense that I'm interested in, it's really a question of does that local peace process provide a voice to people who have something to say on the national peace process, and until then their voice hasn't been heard? Or does it provide an opportunity or a forum for people to start working and addressing on the society-wide challenges rather than just the local peace process? And sometimes you might actually create that opportunity even if the local problem that they were trying to solve has proven intractable.
There needs to be a proper implementation mechanism and monitoring mechanism as well. I think these two are important aspects, and I also want to add that the local peace process need to be owned and led by the local actors. While the external actors has only the role to support and facilitate there, not to influence or dominate the process. That has to be kept in consideration. And one more thing that I would like to add, it's indigenous knowledge and local resources that matters rather than imposing any new ideas from outside and visiting the local areas with the mission of civilization that don't work, in my opinion.